Welcome to the Gay Buddhist Forum, where teachers from all schools of Buddhism offer their perspectives on the Dharma and its application in modern times, especially for LGBTQI audiences. These talks are offered freely to the world and made possible by appreciative listeners. If you would like to support our efforts to share the Dharma with underserved audiences, please visit gaybuddhist.org. There you can donate, find a list of upcoming speakers, or enjoy many hundreds of these recorded talks dating back to 1996.
Welcome back. We're going to go around the room and say our names, and then I'll introduce our speaker. I'm George.
My name is Steve.
My name is Cass.
Michael.
Matthew.
Stephen.
Tim.
Mort.
Diane.
Bob.
Ben.
Andy.
Tony. Tom. Jack.
Tom.
Clint. I'm Brad.
My name is Gary.
And welcome everyone online. Our speaker today is Gary Ost. Gary is a retired Episcopal priest living in San Francisco. He began his study of the Dharma in 2008, starting with the Shambhala School of Tibetan Buddhism. Since then, he has practiced daily Samatha Vipassana meditation. He has declared his aspiration to help Christians understand Buddhism better and Buddhists to understand Christians better. Gary has taken informal bodhisattva vows and is studying the Lojong teachings of the 11th century Tibetan monk Atisha. Welcome, Gary. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Am I supposed to ask at this point whether people can hear me?
Soon.
Good. Well, while you're doing that, let me just look at who's in the room. I know some of you, but not most of you. So it's nice to see your smiling faces. I'll try to have a stronger voice in my older age. This is what I sometimes put up with. So what I would like to talk about today is how I came to Tibetan Buddhism. In the late summer of 2008, I met Michael Murphy at a billy gathering. We became close friends. And before long, Michael invited me to accompany him to his Sangha on Bartlett Street in San Francisco. And I was immediately taken with the practice of mindfully sitting in the supportive company of gay brothers. That time we didn't have very many sisters. And so I became a regular meditator, both on Sundays and every morning at home. Michael saw my enthusiasm and encouraged me with the gift of 2 books. One was Sacred Path of the Spiritual Warrior by Chogyam Trungpa, and the other was Practicing Peace in the Time of War by Chogyam's pupil, Pema Chodron. I had never heard of these people. I quickly read through both of them. I was sympathetic with the concept of spiritual warriorship in Chogyam's book, but I found Pema's book, actually it was her style, engaging. So I decided that what I really wanted to do was to read some more of her books, of which I found there were many. I discovered Chogyam and Pema belonged to a relatively new school of Tibetan Buddhism called the Shambhala training, which was growing in popularity in the West. But, I thought, Tibetan Buddhism? At first I was a bit put off by how unlike other branches of Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism seemed. It had some, esoteric practices, as in for the initiated only. I learned that Tibetan Buddhism is sometimes considered a part of the second turning in Buddhism, Mahayana, the big one. But sometimes it is also called the third turning, or Vajrayana, as in, sounds like, for the initiated. I learned that Tibetan Buddhism is sometimes considered, that Vajrayana is usually translated as diamond vehicle or thunderbolt vehicle, referring to a Vajra, which is a mythical weapon in Indian and Tibetan mythology, and which became a ritual implement, sort of a sign of authority. Vajrayana subscribes to the literature known as the Buddhist Tantras. It includes practices that make up use of mantras, dharanis, which are mnemonic mantras, mudras, which are symbolic poses, mandalas, and the visualization of deities and Buddhas. What? And Vajrayana Buddhism is also known in Tibet as Tantrayana, as in the tantric vehicle to enlightenment. I suppose you've heard of tantric sex. All the words used to describe Tibetan Buddhism, esoteric, arcane, tantra, mantra, all seemed a bit off-putting. And then one day the thought came to me, they're a little bit like high church Anglicans. I don't know if you know the phrases high church, low church, and broad church, but that's what we do to describe ourselves in this very broad spectrum of Christian practitioners called Anglicanism. High church loves smells and bells. Low church doesn't want even any statues. And broad church is even suspicious of going to church. They're more interested in the social gospel. So I thought to myself, well, perhaps this is high church Buddhism. So I began to wade into it. It helped that at about this time, a sympathetic Episcopal priest friend of mine gave me a piece for the altar that I had set up in my home. It is a triptych, an altar panel with a fold-down center with multiple depictions, I call them icons, of 5 different Buddhas, with a cord holding the folio of them in such a way that I can let one down at a time, one a day. So I start with Shakyamuni Buddha, the historical Buddha. The next day is Avalokiteshvara, also known as Guan Yin. Third day is Green Tara, who's used for calming fears. The fourth day is Manjushri, the fierce-looking warrior whose flaming sword raised like this stops my mind every time I turn the page. And he seems to be saying, wake up. Or even, decide. And then on day 5, the beautiful purple healing Buddha is what flops down in front of me, the one you sometimes see on stupas. So I incorporated the Tibetan trappings into my daily practice and dropped some of my considerations. And then I found Pema's book, Start Where You Are, A Guide to Compassionate Living. And I sort of fell in love and wanted to know much more about Tibetan Buddhism in general and the Shambhala teachings in particular. I learned that there are Shambhala training centers in Boulder, Colorado, which is now the site of Naropa University, and in Chicago, Boston, Baltimore, and in Berkeley, which teach a mindful way of living with the goal of creating an enlightened society based on cultivating the gentleness and bravery Chogyam Trungpa talked about in Sacred Path of the Spiritual Warrior. The Shambhala teachings, as originally proclaimed by Chogyam Trungpa, state that there is a natural source of radiance and brilliance in the world, which is the innate wakefulness of all human beings. Some say Shambhala is an alternate pronunciation of the mythical kingdom of Shangri-La, an enlightened society of fearless, dignified, and compassionate people. It was in 1976 that Trungpa Rinpoche began giving his teachings in the U.S., often raising eyebrows because of his idiosyncratic style. But there are some who say that the mindfulness movement in the West, to which we belong, much of it the result of Trungpa's missionary-style zeal, is actually transforming Buddhism everywhere. For in the East, lay people don't meditate. The monks do that. But here we are, in the West, Latter-day disciples of Buddha in all walks of life. But my best connection to this Shambhala school was delving into Pema Chodron's books, and that one in particular, Start Where You Are, which introduced me to the Lojong teachings, L-O-J-O-N-G. Lo means intelligence, mind. Zhong means training or processing. The teachings of Lojong consist of several steps or points of Mahayana discipline. So, Lojong is a mind training practice in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition based on a set of aphorisms, pithy, witty sayings, for 59 of them to be precise, formulated in Tibet in the 12th century by a monk called Chekawa Yeshe Dorje, although Atisha, mentioned earlier, in the 11th century, 10th century actually, was a Bengali meditation master who is regarded as the originator of the practice, who at an advanced age was invited to teach in Tibet, where he stayed for the rest of his life. Chekawa, later on, performed a similar function in preserving ancient writings in Tibet as the Irish monks did in preserving classical Greek and Roman texts, Latin texts, for Europe. The 59 slogans of Chekawa that form the root text of the Lojong main training practice are designed as a set of antidotes to undesired mental habits that cause suffering. Pema's book, Start Where You Are, introduced me to this practice of Tonglen, which is found among the Lojong teachings. I didn't get it till later that this book is actually Pema's commentary on the 59 slogans. The lines in the book that spoke to me were, "You may be the most resentful person in the world. That's a good place to start. You may be the most dishonest person in the world. That's a good place to start. You may be the most distrustful person in the world. That's a good place to start. You may even be the greatest murderer in the world. And that's a good place to start. And there are some of them who did that very thing who are in prison today, teaching the Dharma to prisoners and to all of us. Here are some nuggets out of the 59 slogans that I have come to love. Slogan 1. First, train in the preliminaries. The preliminaries are the 4 reminders. 1. Maintain an awareness of the preciousness of human life. 2. Be aware of the reality that death comes for everyone. Impermanence is what reality is marked by. 3. Recall that whatever you do, whether virtuous or not, it has a result. Karma. And 4. Contemplate that as long as you are too focused on self-importance and too caught up in thinking about how you are good or bad, how you look or not, you are going to experience suffering. That's dukkha. The preliminaries also include the statement that incorporating the regular practice of samatha vipassana, which is abiding insight meditation, as the mother of all mindfulness training, the daily practice of which literally nurtures our waking up to our own awareness. I also like slogan 2. Regard all dharmas, which means the interrelated elements that make up everything in the world, so like all teachings, all realities, all interpretations. Regard everything that you think you know, everything that we make dogmas out of, everything that divides us into doctrines, all of that, regard them all as dreams. Even though experience may make it seem that they are solid, they are all passing memories. This is the slogan which often prompts the response, and I do it myself. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Slogan 12, I like. Drive all blames into one. This is about the fact that everyone is looking for someone else to blame, and therefore aggression and neurosis keep expanding in the world. When instead we could pause and look at what's happening with us. Drive all blames into one. Don't go looking for blame. Don't even blame yourself. It's fruitless. Slogan 19. All Dharma agrees at one point. That is to say, the entire Buddhist teachings are all about one thing. Lessening one's self-absorption, one's ego clinging. Slogan 20. Of the two witnesses, hold the principal one. That means when you are hearing somebody else criticize you, even critiquing you, as they might say, listen to yourself first, because you're the only one who really knows what's going on inside. I like slogan 19, all dharmas, I said that. I like slogan 20 I just said that too, of the two witnesses, choose the first one, that's you. Slogan 39, all activities should be done with one intention. Whatever you are doing, take the attitude of wanting it directly or indirectly to benefit others. That's the one intention of all Buddhist activities. Two more. Slogan 56, don't wallow in self-pity. And slogan 59, don't expect applause. So after you're going through all 59 slogans and using them perhaps as daily training, what you are reminded of is it's not about you. Tonglen is the practice that is explained in two of the slogans in Lojong, slogan 7 and slogan 10. I'm going to read those in a little bit. But what I want to start with is what Pema says Tonglen practice is about. She says this is a normal variation to samatha vipassana meditation, meaning along with the practice of insight meditation that you may be doing daily, or perhaps one of the 4 heavenly mindset practices, loving kindness practice, compassion practice, empathetic joy practice, and equanimity practice, here's an invitation to include a 6th one, Tonglen. In Tibetan, Tonglen means sending and taking, which refers to what we imagine while we do the practice. Because as we breathe in, we bring in what is painful from our own and others' experiences. And as we breathe out, we share any aspiration that comes to us that would alleviate suffering and bring happiness in ourselves and in others. Tonglen is also known as exchanging self for other. What makes Tonglen an effective compassion practice is the rhythm of being willing to literally take in suffering on the in-breath, yours and all other beings, and then giving out whatever might help them and or you on the out-breath. So here are the two slogans. Slogan 7. Sending and taking should be practiced alternatively. These two should ride the breath. In this meditation practice, you send out happiness to others and you take in any suffering that others feel. You take in with a sense of openness and compassion, and you send out in the same spirit. Slogan 10 says, begin the sequence of sending and taking with yourself. This means compassion starts with making friends with ourselves. And here you may add particularly our poisons. The Tibetan word for poison is klesha, and they talk about how our kleshas are where we are stuck with habitual reactivity, where we suffer over and over again. And because of the aggressive nature of our kleshas, they are sometimes characterized as demons. So aggressive demons are what we are trying to dispel by a kindness practice. So what I want to do today is I want to actually share the practice with you. I want to introduce you to what Tonglen is like doing as an alternative to the other 5 meditation practices. So I would like to do a guided meditation. In a little bit I'll ask George to hit the gong to enter into it more fully. But first I want to remind you of what we often hear are the instructions on how to do meditation. I find it helpful to be reminded of this over and over and over. So, would you join me? Would you first of all get comfortable, meaning spines erect, seat in the chair, feet feeling the pull of gravity, either from your cushion or from your chair. Second, would you get centered? Would you feel the earth inviting you to this spot, anchoring you to this one spot for just these few minutes? Third, would you do a body scan? Because the body is the first of the 4 foundations of mindfulness. I recommend doing a scan, choosing words that you say every time you meditate. I use PEMAs, so you don't need to use this, but something like this. I say to myself, seat, legs, torso, eyes, shoulders, mouth. Seat, legs, torso, eyes, shoulders, mouth. Scan your body. This is in order to be centered, to really be here. I think this is an important point. And then finally, start the sequence of breathing. So, George, would you hit the gong as we begin to do breath work? As you breathe in, activate your sympathetic nervous system, because that's what happens when we charge our bodies with breath. The part of our brains that are hooked to the fight response, that are connected with all of our emotional reactions, are activated by breathing in. Breathe in your energy. Breathe in your emotional components. And then, on the out-breath, this is where we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is what monitors our compassion response. The parasympathetic nervous system releases endorphins in our bodies. Every time we practice kindness, or touch someone, or kiss someone, or smile at someone. Even my cat knows what's going on. When my husband Michael and I kiss goodnight, our cat starts to purr. Endorphins. Keep breathing. And get ready to learn the Tonglen practice using Pema Chodron's instructions. We enter into the practice of exchanging energy. In-breath. Out-breath. In-breath. Out-breath. In-breath. Perhaps you can start to allow any feelings of stuckness you might feel in your body. Out-breath. You begin to let go. And then I'm going to ask you to try out 3 steps to starting to practice Tonglen. Pema says this is step 1. We open our hearts by flashing bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the soft, compassionate heart-mind that is a part of our precious human birth. So, remembering the sound of the gong. George, would you hit it again? Imagine flashing your heritage of having a warm heart and mind. Just flash on that thought for a second. Keep breathing and get ready to do the Tonglen practice. Pema says step 2 is when we begin to feel the texture of our present experience sitting here in our chairs. Each of us is experiencing both negative and positive energy at all times. But we usually don't want to admit that we have negative, stuck emotions. We would rather not start with that. But it's brilliant that in Tonglen practice, the Tibetans have us breathing in our negative energies. Breathing in where we are stuck. Being honest about the fact. Start to identify what's going on in your life right now that is making you feel stuck. That is making you feel reactivated. That is providing you with negative emotional experiences. Try these words. While you're breathing in, say the words dark, heavy, hot. That's our negative feelings. Dark, heavy, hot. Open to the feeling of whatever pain, whatever narrowness, whatever closed down feelings you may have going on in your body. We all feel this way. You're not alone. If you think for the moment that you are alone, dark, heavy, hot, then allow yourself to think about some other people's dark, heavy, hot experiences. Think about the ice agents people who are worrying that ice agents may find them where they are. Can you identify with that feeling of dark, heavy, hot? This is a meditation practice where it's okay to think, to imagine, because we are increasing our compassion towards the world and towards ourselves. Feel the fear that might end up, that we might end up in a detention facility that's as bad as they say they are. On the in-breath, continue to feel the dark, heavy, hot. And then on the out-breath, begin to breathe out bright, light, cool. We're talking about a texture of feelings in our bodies. On the in-breath, hot, heavy, hot, dark, heavy, hot. On the out-breath, bright, light, cool. Really get into it. Dark, heavy, hot. Do you feel that? Bright, light, cool. I'm letting go. Continue doing this for just a few minutes. Dark, heavy, hot. Bright, light, cool. Open your heart. Give it a lot of space. Open to the experience of the in-breath. The dark, the heavy, and the hot. But also open and relax as you breathe out bright, light, cool. We're training our bodies and our minds. Dark, heavy, hot. Bright, light, cool. And then we begin step 3, the actual exchange. Keep doing what you were doing, saying the words dark, heavy, hot. Then, when you are synchronized, start moving into an exchange. You are exchanging the negative emotions that you experience with the positive experience of aspirational words that you now begin to find for the out-breath. On the in-breath, feel where you are stuck and find some words that briefly state how you honestly feel. Start coming up with your own Tonglen mantra, facilitating the exchange. Here's a template I often use for my Tonglen practice. On the in-breath, I say, I dive into whatever strong reactivating feeling I'm currently feeling. And on the out-breath, I say, notice that and be quiet. In-breath, I dive into my dark feelings. Out-breath, notice that and be quiet. I dive into the feeling of this fear. That would be on the in-breath. And then on the out-breath, you might say, this is the way it is. Notice that and be quiet. I dive into the feeling of my fear. This is the way it is. Notice that and be quiet. At this point, you give yourself up to the repetitive effects of your mantra. In the course of saying the same mantra for several minutes, you let the words of your mantra begin to open you to the bodhicitta, the mind-heart connection to all living beings. Sometimes this will result in insights to deeper causes of suffering than you knew was really going on. And you begin to have more awareness. Oh, that's why I'm suffering. It has to do with that. I dive into this deeper feeling. I notice that. And just let it be. I dive into this feeling of fear. It's like this. Notice that and be quiet. So let's continue saying whatever mantra you have discovered to the rhythm of our breathing. I want to ask you to imagine the gong ringing, because I don't know how to tell George to do that right now. Just imagine the gong and flash bodhicitta again. It's as though you're saying, I don't get it, but I know this is who I really am. I am a warm, compassionate being, and I befriend myself a little more, and I open the door to all beings. So, could you come back into the room with me as I try to wrap this up? I'm wondering how it went for you inventing your own mantras. Perhaps after a while you'll enjoy it, get used to it. By following the template that I shared, you can come up with a number of different kinds of mantras. And in fact, every day I seem to come up with one that is just tailor-made for today. As a matter of fact, for today, as I was sitting here, I said the same mantra over and over again, preparing for my talk, and it was, I just want to be perfect. But I also said, I also want to dance. I want to be perfect, and I want to dance. That's what I said on the in-breath. I want to be perfect, and I want to dance. It's like the duality of my being is, at every moment, I'm wanting to be this perfect person who's right, and I'm also wanting to be this person who wants to dance with life like Zorba the Greek and just be a compassionate person. So on the in-breath I was saying, I just want to be perfect and I also want to dance. And on the out-breath I said, today just a little, I'm going to befriend myself and open the door to all beings. I want to be perfect, but I also want to dance. I befriend myself a little more and open the door to all beings. The point needs to be made. This is not about getting better. It is about being honest with where we get hooked, where we suffer over and over again. It is about seeing when we go into the flight-fight response and close the door to our compassion response. If you want to give this practice a try, I think you'll be surprised by the enlightening experiences you'll have in the process of letting the words of your Tonglen mantra settle in. So this is what I have to share today. I've been living with this for the last 17 years. What is that? 2008 till now. And I still find it difficult to come up with the words to describe my experience. But the rock bottom experience is I'm letting in the things that trouble me and hook me in a more honest way, in a more authentic way, being with them, and then sending aspirational words to begin to regroove the synaptic patterns of my brain so that I'm not so hooked, and I begin actually to change my mind. You know what the Greek word is for change your mind? It's metanoia. That's the Christian word for conversion. That's how we experience conversion. We practice it over and over until we start to get good at it. So I'll open it up to questions if you want to do that. I don't even know what time it is. Good. So anybody want to make any comments or questions to my attempt, my endeavor? Sure.
Thank you. I have been self-torturing lately. I asked somebody, I've been between jobs for a while, and I was helping take care of my mom and her Alzheimer's, and she passed away earlier this year, and then my cat passed away, so Mom left me some money, and I've been traveling. But I asked somebody I used to work with, just very briefly, a few years ago, so I asked him recently for an informational interview, because I want to get into a certain area of career. And I've already got some background in it. And he said yes, and we got on the phone, and we got about 3 minutes of conversation, and then it just got all staticky. Lots of static on the line I couldn't understand. So called back, same thing. And I just sort of said, hey, can we reschedule? He's like, yeah, email me. So I emailed him twice, and I have no response from him. And so I am beating the hell out of myself, thinking, oh, I must have come across as an asshole in those 3 minutes. And I told him a litany of my failures: unemployment, taking care of my mom, spending money traveling, right? And it's because of me he doesn't want to talk again. And I only asked for 15 minutes this time. So that's unsustainable for me.
Could I ask a question about the feeling that you have when you start breathing in the memory of that experience?
Well, it's shame.
Okay.
That's my core feeling.
Okay. So shaming probably has to do with blaming. I wonder, is there some raw experience of pain that you could let yourself actually experience as you are breathing in?
Sure, it's fear, shame and fear.
Okay, good. So perhaps you would be able to say, I dive into my feelings of shame. And then in the out-breath, come up with something maybe like, I befriend myself a little bit more as I open the door to all beings. So you might try that as a way of just removing yourself from the reactivity that really is crippling. I can feel that.
It's been crippling for years now.
Yeah.
Years.
I was thinking earlier today that what we're going through in this country feels like we're stuck in a position we can't get out of. And I thought to myself, it is so tempting to give up. But then I realized that if I allowed myself to feel that feeling, this country is hurting. I feel hurt. I'm feeling my hurt. I'm feeling your hurt. I'm feeling the hurt of my neighbors who are from Guatemala and Mexico. And then I thought to myself, feeling the pain does not excuse me from doing something about it. Feeling the pain is what I get to do to start. And then I begin to look for what the next right action might be in response. So maybe you could do that too. I breathe in my feelings of shame and fear. I breathe out my aspiration to trust my own awareness to find the next right action. Just a thought.
Can you say that again, please?
Yeah. Anybody else want to share anything? Yeah, sure. Hi.
Gary, what a incredibly beautiful talk. Just want to thank you. I was very, very moved by it. I want to put in a plug. You mentioned Shambhala. Mm-hmm. It comes from, well, there's a movie, it came from a book, Lost Horizons. And it's one of my favorite movies because it shows this ideal society in a very beautiful way. But I think, and I don't know the gentleman's name over here, but I was very moved by that share. And I think that as gay men and as a lot of us are senior gay men, we have a history of being shamed and humiliated and treated like shit. And it's very hard not to interiorize those messages. And I know I do have my own sense of voices putting me down and shaming me when I'm not perfect. And so I think this is a common human thing, but I think among the LGBT community we have an extra dose of that. And I think even more so than other minorities, because if you're African American or Jewish or whatever, you grow up in a family normally that's African American, or a community of Jewish, or a community that's African American and Jewish. And so at least people around you share your status. And being a gay person in a heterosexual world, even with your family and your friends, is incredibly isolating and shaming. And we really need to hear the message that you just gave us about breathing in that shame and that hurt and then expelling it out as something positive. So thank you.
Yeah, and identifying with other people who are going through the same thing right now. The Dalai Lama says he uses Tonglen every day of his life. And he says he uses it on the spot as well as in his meditation practice. So I heard a story about one day when it sure looks like he was using Tonglen on the spot when he was greeting a bunch of people on a long line of people at an airport. And he was trying to say something warm and kind to every person that he talked to. And so he was bending down and talking to people. And as he passed one woman, one of his assistants whispered into his ear. And what the assistant whispered was, that woman was really offended by what you just said to her. And the Dalai Lama just stopped, as though he was saying to himself, ouch, that hurts. Notice that and be quiet. And after a few minutes, I suspect he was doing on-the-spot Tonglen. He said, well, my intentions were good. Trusting his own awareness. Maybe as gay men we need to learn to trust our own awareness. Maybe that could be an aspiration. Breathing in feelings of shame, breathing out. I trust my own awareness to tell me my intentions were good.
I don't want to take up too much time, but there's a Dalai Lama story I heard about. He was being interviewed by a Westerner, and the Westerner was asked about the subject of self-hatred. And he was confused. He didn't even know what that meant. And so the interviewer explained to him, because we in the West, especially in this country, we're good at that. And when he understood that there were people out there grappling with self-hatred, he started crying because he didn't realize that. I guess that's part of the human condition for a lot of people.
I understand that he looked actually compassionately sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet he went into Tonglen forest.
Yeah, and again, I'm repeating myself here, but we've been taught self-hatred. And I can only speak for myself. My entire adult life has been unteaching that to myself. And I have some success, but I'm not there 100%. But I'm trying.
Yeah. Great. Sure.
Gary, thanks so much. You gave a talk here, about 10 years ago, I think, on Tonglen specifically, and it's so great to experience how your practices continue to evolve and expand, and I mean, this was really fantastic, so thank you. You mentioned the kleshas, and I'm wondering, so I've heard of something and read about something called a samskara, which I think is more in like the Indian tradition, where it's this stuck energy. It's something that has happened. It's an emotional response to something in the moment that we don't fully allow to go through us. So we hold it, and so energy always has to keep moving. And so if it can't come up and out, it circles on itself, and it becomes this this little eddy of stuck energy that gets triggered over and over again when a familiar situation arises, like what originally set it in us. A sight, a sound, a smell, a comment from somebody, and we experience this over and over and over. Is that similar to a klesha? Is that kind of the same?
Yeah, it has to do with our reactivities and the things that you get hooked by. What I discover when I do my Tonglen is that I will identify the first klesha, thinking that's all I was dealing with. And as I do a Tonglen mantra for that, I discover, there's something else behind that too. And it can go back quite a ways. But the beautiful thing is that I arise from my pillow most mornings feeling like a more honest person, that I've been honest about my own feelings. I just feel like a regular human being. And that it's been a place where I can be sane for 30 minutes. And it's really a very freeing experience. By the way, the Latin derivation of the word emotion is ex and motus, which is motion. An emotion is something that you move out. If you don't move it out, it becomes something else in your body. Anybody else? Thank you, everybody.
Do you have any announcements?
I'm a host.
Okay.
Please stay and enjoy the company of the Sangha. There are refreshments and hot tea hot water for tea. And if you use a cup, just put it in the sink and I'll take care of it. I'll be going around with the Donna Bowl to accept contributions to cover our expenses. Your generosity is appreciated. Donations in the range of $10 to $20 to help the Sangha meet its expenses. These include an honorarium for our Dharma speakers, rent on this beautiful center. I understand we're starting dinners with Larkin Street Youth Services and our quarterly newsletter, mailed mostly to people in prison. There's a newcomer sign-up sheet on the credenza. If you wish to be included to receive our Sangha membership directory, please sign up and include your contact information you may wish to share with the group. Some members go out to lunch after the meeting. Everyone is welcome to join the group each at the front door around 12:30.
Thank you, Tony. Matthew.
I've got 3 announcements. Oh boy. And the first announcement, we have our fall retreat coming up in September 26th through 28th. Or 20, yeah.
Something like
At Land of Medicine Buddha. Registration is open if you go onto our website. J.D. Doyle, one of our favorite speakers, will be our Dharma teacher. And I heard that the topic, the kind of theme for the retreat may be the 8 worldly winds, which is a cool area to explore. Announcement number 2. One of our great friends of GBF, Joe Good, dancer, choreographer, writer, actor, Joe Good Performance Group is performing their latest production. And there's a group of us that are going, I think it's the last night of the production on August 31st, the day before Labor Day. So if you're interested in joining us, I think there may be tickets left, and just check it out. Joe Good is known for his synthesis of spoken word and dance, and also you probably will not be seated for this production. You kind of move around with the performers through the space. So. And lastly, GBF is an entirely volunteer-run organization, and we do always need people to help volunteer, to help keep this organization going. And we have a big volunteer role to fill coming up. Jack Busby.
Yeah, don't steal my thunder. I'm going to make my announcement.
What, for?
Larky Street.
No, this is something else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Jack, it's been 25 years?
22.
22. So we spoke of the newsletter, and one of the big parts of the newsletter is preparing for the mailing. And it's a big job, and it's something that we definitely, Jack wrote out all the duties for it, but it's printing the labels, getting the envelopes.
It's a lot. Coordinating with FedEx to get it printed. And
yeah. It's a big job, and it's something that possibly 2 people could take on and split up the duties. But
I'm resigning from that, so that's why let's talk about it.
So if you're interested in helping with the mailing, as mentioned before, it goes out to mostly incarcerated individuals, and it means a lot for those people to receive the Dharma through our newsletter. So please consider doing that.
Thank you, Matthew. Clint.
Well, a perfect segue from my announcement, as is your talk, Gary, about feeling frustrated about living in these troubled times and wanting to do something. For those of you who are reasonably new to GBF, for 9 years, we prepared a dinner for a homeless shelter, Walker Street Youth Center over on Ellis Street. And so this particular center was aimed towards young people. I think the cutoff age was 22. And for 9 years, the third Saturday of every month, we would plan a menu, buy the groceries, finance by GBF, and then prepare dinner for the residents of the center. And the center's a great center, and it really looks after the young people there. But they with budgetary concerns, that they made very simple meals, and we would make, not simple meals, and based more on comfort than on health, but healthy too. COVID shut it down to our great regret, because it was a wonderful opportunity to engage Buddhism. We have all these fine people here, as we had a chance to use them to go out and do this. So finally, we're trying to bring it back again, and it had to jump through a lot of hoops to get there. But it looks like that could happen. And what we need now is just people who are interested in volunteering for that. And it's not a huge commitment, and if you volunteer, it doesn't mean that you have to do it every month until you're dead. If you want to take it, but from time to time, if you want to participate, that would mean showing up at the shelter and helping prepare the meal, serving it, and then cleaning up and going home. So if you're interested in doing something like that, and it's great fun, the energy is beautiful, and especially with the young people, you get all that exuberant energy, even if they're like struggling, poverty and so on. You don't get this depressed, beaten down feeling. And so if you're interested in participating, we're hoping to do it, I think 21st of this month. We may or may not pull it up, but that's what we're aiming for right now. But anyway, contact me or somebody else from the steering committee or Jack or others. Bill, I don't see your name. And give me your contact information, and then when I'm putting together a team, I'll send out an invitation for you to join. But if there's not enough response, then we won't be able to do this, and we'll just have to let it lie down the road. But I hope we can kick this off because it was a very rewarding experience for everybody involved. I'm done.
Thank you, Clint. Any other announcements? Gary, would you like to lead us in the dedication of memory?
Sure. By the merits of this practice, may we and all beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. May we and all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May we and all beings never be separated from that sacred happiness which knows no suffering. And may we dwell in that equanimity which is free of either too much attachment or too much aversion, believing in the equality of all beings.
Thank you for listening to the Gay Buddhist Forum. If you would like to hear several new talks per month and be notified of upcoming speakers so you can participate live, please subscribe to this podcast, like us on Facebook, and join our mailing list by visiting gaybuddhist.org.